Good afternoon here in the United States, and good evening to the rest of the globe. Thank you for joining us during this broadcast and this webinar. We appreciate your attendance. My name is Mike May. I'm Vice President in North America for Bizagi. We're headquartered in London in the UK with operations around the world. And I've got some exciting presenters with me today that I'll introduce in a moment. And we're going to talk to you about transforming healthcare using artificial intelligence and micro-learning. Our guest speakers are Morgan Porter. He is the Chief Technology Officer at Mentis Neuro Health, and Barbara North, Chief Organizational Development Officer, also at Mentis, and I mentioned myself already. Let me tell you a little bit about our session today and what we're going to talk about. I'm going to give you a brief introduction to Bizagi for those of you who may not know us around the world. Then we'll talk about the case study of managing change at Mentis Neuro Health. And then we'll reserve time at the end for some live Q&A and answer your questions. So Bizagi may not be known as a household name for digital transformation. We primarily have cut our roots in the area of business process management over the years, but I can assure you that we've helped corporations around the world transform themselves for about 25 years. And by that I mean we've transformed probably 500 some odd corporations in multiple industries. We do that with three things. We automate core business processes, and the way we do that is that we have an agile application process layer that gives us the capability of wrapping legacy information and then presenting that in such a contextualized manner that the user or the end recipient of that data has a unique experience that makes them feel like they are the only customer in that company. This is a snapshot of some of our customers around the world. You'll see some very good brand name recognition. We've also got some very good partners on the bottom layer of the slide. But one interesting note is that while we're talking about healthcare transformation today, you'll see representation here of just about every industry around the globe. And with that, I'm going to introduce Morgan Porter, Chief Technology Officer with Mentis Neuro Health.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, I'm Morgan, and I'm the CTO here at Mentis Neuro. My role here includes the typical role of a healthcare CTO, but along with the broader responsibility of leading the company through digital transformation. It's really an exciting time for us here, and for me especially as a healthcare technology leader, because we finally have the kinds of tools in Bizagi and AI that are truly capable of addressing the kind of complex workflows that we see in the healthcare industry. So to give you context for our digital transformation story, let me start by telling you a little bit about Mentis Neuro Health. Mentis Neuro has 7 offices here in the U.S., and we provide the highest level of neuro-rehabilitation to persons who have sustained an acquired brain injury or who are significantly challenged by neurological conditions that restrict their mobility, social interaction, communication, their employment, or reentry to their homes and communities. We strive to be recognized as the industry leader in the field of residential neuro-rehabilitation and community reentry services. And today I'm going to take you through some of the work we've done to transform Mentis Neuro, along with my colleague, Barbara North, who I'll hand over to now so she can tell you a little bit more about her role here.
Hi, I'm Barbara North, Chief Organizational Development Officer at Mentis. My role covers all aspects of human resources, organizational communication, which includes communication and educational content to our internal Mentis team members, as well as external communication to stakeholders, such as referral partners, our patients, and their family members. I'm also the Senior Agile Project Manager for all of Mentis' strategic growth initiatives, which includes building and launching Mentis Academy, our innovative education platform for staff, patients, and their families.
So now that you know a little more about us, let me tell you about the challenges we were facing as a company. Our organization was trying to grow rapidly, but we weren't set up in a way to be scalable. And that's because we depended on key subject matter experts in our clinical team that couldn't be everywhere at once as we added facilities. And we also knew as we were growing that we wanted to maintain our high clinical standards, which was very difficult. At the same time, we wanted to set a new industry standard for outstanding patient experiences. So in short, we needed to find a way to grow Mentis while at the same time doing that quickly without losing our quality, our brand, or our personal touch. So here's an overview of the project plan to date. It shows the key milestones on our journey so far. It started back in the fall of 2015 where we selected Bizagi and kicked off our project by assembling a cross-functional team. We included key people across the company from all areas of the organization that would be impacted, so our clinical team, operational team, HR team, and other areas. And we started by educating them on the agile process that we wanted to follow to develop our application suite. You see, at that time, we weren't sure exactly what the finished product would look like, so we knew that we wanted to start with a minimum viable product and that our team would have to follow that agile process to wind up with a solid product that worked for everyone. So we spent a couple of weeks in immersive hands-on education with Bizagi's training team to get our developers and business analysts up to speed first. And then we came out of the gate tackling a very important process to our company, the intake process. That's the onboarding process for patients in our organization, and it represents first contact of our patients up to the point they're admitted. This was a critical step in our business workflow, and it resulted in a quick win for our cross-functional team and built a lot of confidence in the organization that we could tackle the bigger problems. We followed this with a series of performance-enhancing sprints that resulted in significant gains in our intake process for the company. And you'll hear more about that in a moment, exactly what those outcomes were. With that intake process behind us, our seasoned team started tackling the most complex workflows in our company, the clinical process. Now that we were far enough along with development, our education team also started kicking in and developing a fully integrated learning experience to match our new process flows. About this point, we won an award that I'll tell you about on the next slide. And finally, today where we are is we're in our second iteration of developing advanced education and our second iteration of refining our clinical workflows. And we'll learn more about how AI and microlearning play into those areas of our company. So I mentioned previously that we won an award for our patient intake process. Let me tell you a little bit more about that award. What we did was we digitized our intake process. It used to be manual, and it took several weeks to onboard a patient. By automating that, we cut down the end-to-end time to onboard a patient by 90% in 90 days. And as a result of that, we now are able to welcome 21% more patients to Mentis Neuro. So these powerful results won us recognition of the best achievement in digital transformation at the Business Transformation and Operational Excellence Awards this last spring. So that takes us over to what we're working on now. Now that we've finished digitizing our basic clinical workflows, we're embedding intelligence and education where our teams need them the most, where they perform their clinical work. So let's take a closer look on the following slides about how we're using AI and microlearning to change how we practice medicine here at Mentis Neuro. On this next screen, you're looking at a picture of Mentis Apollo, which is our overall application, clinical application. And this is the face, then behind here is Bizagi, AI, our learning platform, and many other things. So I'll give you a walk through here so you better understand what's going on. Mentis Apollo is the name we gave the entire suite. And what you're seeing here is a personalized dashboard for a clinician working in one of our patient facilities. So some of the features on here, such as My Schedule, we won't talk much about. You'd find them in any good scheduling program. But let's focus on some of the unique features we embedded here to optimize the work of our clinical teams. The section labeled My Patients in the middle is especially interesting. It may be hard to see, but there is a score there next to each patient. This enables a clinician to see a list of people they'll be treating today, along with a score from 1 to 100. The higher this score is, the more meaningful today's treatment plan is for the patient to achieve their outcome goals. The therapist has an opportunity here to adjust treatment and improve the quality of care delivered today. Over on the right upper section, the My Utilization area is another KPI our clinical teams track. This measures how effective I am as a clinician at accomplishing the most important tasks I have to do today. So combining these two perspectives provides a holistic view of quality and efficiency at a glance and the opportunity to improve in real time. The task list over in the lower right-hand corner is a filtered view of the clinician's Bizagi inbox, and this enables the team member to initiate or participate in workflows without opening up a separate app. And finally, in the lower left is our integrated microlearning. This is an exciting new feature we've added here that Barbara will tell you about more shortly. Let's dig a little bit deeper, though, into AI and how we're using it here at Mentis. For our patient clinical goals, we drive better outcomes by recommending care plans with proven results for similar injuries. For patient scheduling, we ensure patients receive treatment for their most important goals while maximizing the time of our clinicians. And those are two key areas where AI plays a growing role for us. As we saw in the previous portal view, patients have a score that measures the effectiveness of their treatment plans. This score is the result of deep learning, and here's how it works. Patients complete a clinical assessment using an intelligent clinical app we've created with Bizagi. AI then recommends clinical goals to achieve based on the projected length of stay and the goals of the patients, and reviewing patients with similar assessments that had excellent outcomes. Clinicians then select the appropriate goals and fine-tune them, and AI adjusts the clinician's results to improve its own recommendations for the future. Bizagi then creates an individual treatment plan which will be measured and adjusted every 1 to 3 weeks. So in that way, our deep learning and clinicians interact together, and the AI gets smarter over time to improve its recommendations. Over on the scheduling side, our scheduling system is a balance of optimizing the effectiveness of patient care with the utilization of our clinical team. While there's no perfect answer for this difficult problem, AI plays a key role in optimizing our clinical care and gets better over time. Here's how that works. Letting the system take the first pass on scheduling, we usually wind up with a result at about 80%. Then our scheduling expert takes a look at what the machine learning component did and makes fine nuances and adjustments to the score. AI then has an opportunity to review what the expert changed and learns to improve its neural network and do a better job next time. Over time, our hope is that we'll be able to move machine scheduling from 80% up to 95% effectivity. Each patient has unique circumstances, but they all have commonalities with other patients that had similar injuries. The combination of what we do systematically with Bizagi and AI, along with clinicians, gives us the perfect blend of science and contextualized information.
As Morgan previously identified, our objective was to grow Mentis quickly without losing quality, our brand, or the personal touch. In order to scale our business, we knew digitizing employee onboarding and education would be key to our success. We wanted a scalable approach to learning across the entire organization and to build a centralized learning tool that could do 5 things. 1, allow us to onboard multiple employees in any geographical location or time zone. 2, track training and education for compliance and regulatory purposes from a centralized location. 3, cut down on the time and costs of travel for seminars, best practice meetings, and workshops. 4, eliminate the dependency on traditional trainers, solves for the inconsistencies in messaging from trainer to trainer, and ensures learners receive the most updated content versus old, outdated information that's sitting in binders or on personal hard drives. And finally, to be able to serve up education with an on-demand feature as needed, not just for our new hires, but for refresher needs and ongoing career and skill development. We introduced the concept of microlearning by using just-in-time videos to teach micro skills to employees. We started with patient transfers by taking a video recorded in one of our facilities of a patient being transferred by staff members. Previously, our employees used to just look at the video and transfer the patient. Now, with the use of Apollo, we have the ability to integrate the video into Apollo, which embeds it in the specific patient record, so any one of our employees assigned to that patient can now click on the video while in the record and see how to safely transfer that patient at the exact moment the employee needs it. Imagine being an employee and being on your own homepage. You can see all your activities listed for the day, and one of the activities is moving a patient. Right next to that activity is a how-to video. It's contextualized to your day. This video is built into the tool, right in the patient record, and is easy to view and easy to access. From the business perspective, it's also easy for us to delete, revise, and upload another video as the patient's needs increase or decrease with their acuity. All healthcare companies understand how important this type of education is to patient safety. The ability to provide this education and track this kind of training, who viewed the video and when, is also critical to adhering to compliance and regulatory requirements of government and accrediting bodies. A future goal of ours at Mentis is to open up microlearning beyond just clinical and use this type of educational tool to teach a variety of skills, such as teaching managers how to lead a meeting or provide critical feedback to employees. Today, learning can be very hypothetical and vague. This could be a tiny video that provides specific guidance at just the right time. So now you've seen some of what we've been working on. Let me tell you a little bit about how we built it. We started by creating an agile organizational culture, one that embraces servant leadership, encourages collaboration, empowers self-directed teams, and demonstrates not perfection, but continual improvement. Next, we also used agile project management principles to manage our project and gave team members hands-on direct experience by creating mock-ups and a minimum viable product they could play with. Finally, we decided right from the beginning that integrated learning would be key to delivering on our goals.
So you might wonder why we selected Bizagi. It's because Bizagi has the power to be our digital backbone and integrate all of our systems and services such as learning management and AI into a seamless platform and deliver excellent patient care. Our clinicians are never sure when they're working with Bizagi, working with AI, or something else. They only know it as Apollo, and all the complexity is hidden, which serves everyone well. And along the way, what we found working with Bizagi, both on their software team and services, is they have excellent support services, which has come in handy for us many late nights. They have an excellent job of integrating an agile methodology. The separation of business logic from the technical layers enables us to sit in a meeting, work with business people in an agile design session, and never have to get into technical complexity. That's worked out exceptionally well with our cross-functional team. The scalability has become important as we've rolled this out to a wider and wider audience. Our clinical teams depend on Bizagi applications 24 hours a day to manage our facilities. And finally, the integration capability really stood out. That ability to make our learning management platform and AI a seamless part of our environment really sold us.
So we've transformed the culture here to one of continuous innovation, and it's really exciting to be a part of that. And through this, here are some really important benefits for our organization. Integrated applications delivering a seamless experience, the ability for us to show payers why we've put together a particular care plan. Our services are more scalable, compliant, and we have a living, breathing platform that is constantly improving through machine learning. And our patient surveys show a highly rated patient experience within our industry.
So what does the future hold for us? Well, based on our experience with intake, we believe the opportunity for innovation has just started with our clinical workflows. We're just beginning to scratch the surface on how transformative and powerful AI and microlearning can be when it's tightly integrated with Bizagi. We're already planning our next 3 big initiatives that leverage the power of our digital infrastructure now that it's in place. First, we have patient and family-facing apps that are in the works that keep them fully engaged and informed about their treatment. These apps will be extensions of our clinical workflows that enable patients and their loved ones to actively participate in decision-making in their care plan and ongoing education. Secondly, we've just started building an advanced analytics platform that utilizes deep learning from patient evaluations, clinical procedures, labor costs, and outcomes to enhance clinical performance. And finally, we look forward to sharing our remarkable outcomes around the globe to improve the lives of people who are affected by stroke and traumatic brain injury everywhere. Thanks. Back to you, Mike.
Thank you so much, Morgan and Barbara. I never weary of hearing the story at Mentis. I think what you're doing is fabulous, both technically and from a professional level as well. So we thank you for your contributions there. Let's see if we have some questions for from the audience. One of them is, Morgan, if you and Barbara don't mind commenting not only on the tool, but maybe some use case examples. The question is, what types of AI tools did Mentis use?
Yeah, great question. So we evaluated a number of platforms. We're using a combination of open systems and a platform called Beyond Limits. And one of the things we looked for AI was the ability to incorporate not only inductive and deductive reasoning, but abductive reasoning, which, without getting too technical, enables you to cut a lot of noise out when you're doing especially real-time online learning. We utilize 2 types of AI. We use it in, let's call it a batch mode, where we do deep learning from historical data, and we're also using it to learn real-time and with intelligent agents right in the middle of the clinical process. So we're kind of all over the map right now, and we're excited in Bizagi's new release to begin working with the internal AI portion of the system as well.
Thank you for that. Bizagi is often seen sometimes in the industry as being a technology enabler between your business users and your technology providers, typically in the IT department. At Mentis, comment a little bit about bridging those 2 camps, because I know you're dealing with, not only business people, but you're also dealing with clinicians who need to use the technology. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Sure. So one of the things that's really critical for us is Barb and I have sat down and worked with teams here, is we realize that we're working with non-technical groups, and one of the big challenges is getting them to articulate what a solution should look like at the end of the day. They don't really know, and we don't either, so we're both trying to hit a moving target. So one of our favorite ways to use Bizagi is to sit down and actually, live in real time, start working on a process, let them participate in designing that, and even prototype in the same session. What you get out of that is incredibly better than trying to work with them in concept on a whiteboard, because they can touch it, see how the logic flows, and then give you quality feedback. So that's been a great way we've utilized Bizagi with non-technical folks and wind up with something besides written documentation for the technical team to act on. Anything, Barbara?
No, I would agree that was a lot of how we approached that here.
I think just one other comment on that is we did spend a lot of time educating our teams about agile concepts. Barbara did in particular, and the point of that was we wanted them to get comfortable with the idea that we're going to work with minimum viable products that they keep improving, and rather than trying to envision the end goal right away.
Someone took that question and expanded on it a little bit further, and I think you've touched on most of the points, but they narrowed it down to most important. It said what technological and cultural barriers were challenging to Mentis Neuro.
Well, I would certainly let Morgan talk about the technology piece, but from a cultural perspective, I think change management, the ability to change how we've always done our business, was certainly a barrier to overcome. There's always fears about people's roles changing, how they'll change, what they'll do differently. So it's definitely getting the teams to embrace doing things differently, but the key to that is being able to paint a good visual picture of what the end is going to look like and getting people involved. And in the agile world, using all players collaboratively and to be share information in a collaborative environment so that everybody's voice gets heard and experiences get heard. So definitely a cultural shift. Morgan, what about the technical components?
So technically, I think probably the biggest challenge is the change in how you approach a project with Bizagi. It takes a little getting used to for the technical folks. A lot of our teams that come from traditional backgrounds are used to sitting down and starting with a data model. And in Bizagi, you really want to sit down and model a process, model user interfaces first, and then let that data definition follow based on what you decide there, what you come up with. So getting them through that initial hump, I think, was one challenge. I think we did it effectively. We did it by immersing them deeply in training hands-on with the tool, and we started our project immediately and then augmented them with outside Bizagi experts on the consulting side who could help handhold us through how to architect things properly right out of the gate. One other comment there is Bizagi is deceptively easy to start using. So you can sit down and start building an app in minutes, and it's easy to get lulled into thinking that's all you need to know. And after you work with it a while, you realize you really do need to understand architecture of how to architect a Bizagi solution deeply, and that's where some of that experience and art form comes in.
You both mentioned the term iterative learning. We hear a lot in the industry about the process of digital transformation and what a learning experience it is as a whole. I think it was Barbara that said, you're not going to get it right the first time. You're going to keep refining as you learn more. Having had that hindsight, are there any things that you might have done or tackled differently?
That's another wonderful question. Sometimes working with I would say within the organization, working with the staff, people are conditioned to want to get it right the first time. And so I think and I do think we did a good job here of explaining that it wouldn't be right the first time necessarily out of the gate, but I think that's a place that you can just never emphasize enough, because we're just not conditioned that way in the normal work environment. So I would encourage business leaders to really make that a focus, that it's iterative, we're going to learn things, we're going to work out kind of different bugs of things, call it, almost using the words of pilots. People seem to understand that word a little bit, who are not technical or don't understand Agile. But I think that's a key thing to starting this, an endeavor like this, is making sure people understand that they're going to be part of a process that is definitely going to learn things as we go along.
I think
very good.
Just to add one thing to add to Barbara's comment is one thing we learned pretty early on is you can take the old way that you did things and throw it in the trash. You need to extract what it is that needs to be accomplished, but generally speaking, when you go through digital transformation and you do it correctly, you'll be amazed at how different the outcome looks like if you do it right and really squeeze all the waste out of the manual process. And the other key thing we did is early on we trained our team to put our patient at the center of the design. So they tend to, I think, come from a traditional place of what will make their lives easier and what they need out of their day. All very important, but by putting the patient back at the center, you'll uncover new things that improve that patient experience you never saw as an opportunity in the manual system.
Very good. Thank you both so much for your contribution and the work that you're doing out there with your patients and with technology. For those of you in the listening audience, I want to call your attention to some resources. You can go to Bizagi.com and download case studies. We have several ebooks, some learning, more webinars that are forecasted. You can download the Modeler and the Studio software. And to Morgan and Barbara's point, it's very, very easy to use, and you can get up and running pretty quickly with it. Thank you both so much for contributing with the webinar. Thank you for all of the attendees online, and we hope you've enjoyed what you heard. Thank you very much.
Thank you.